So Nick called this morning, said he's stuck in Genoa. He said, what's the topic? I said, the real deal. And he says, that's how I try to go. So the real deal, or the sign, depending on which way you come, the sign says deal real. Deal real, the real deal. So the dictionary says about real, it says not artificial. It says a bunch of stuff about it, but the topic really goes along with this. Not fraudulent or illusory, being precisely what the name implies. And then deal says an exchange for the benefit of both parties. So the real deal. And this goes along with the 11th instruction that I give when I do the wedding ceremonies. Be genuine and true. Abandon art and artifice. Be yourself. Take off your mask. Be who you are. So to be real, to not try to act like something else, to be to have that sense of humility that knows that who you are is good enough. That who you are is actually all good. And as we've read in some other literature, it says we find that at our spirit and at our core we are pure and loving spirit. And so that's the reality. That's the real part of us, is that pure and loving spirit. So what Hafiz says about this, talking about, of course this is going along with relationships, and he says, I want both of us, this is the name of the poem, I want both of us to start talking about this great love, as if you, I, and the sun were all married and living in a tiny room, helping each other to cook, do the wash, weave and sew, and care for our beautiful animals. We all leave each morning to labor on the earth's field. No one does not lift a great pack. I want both of us to start singing like two traveling minstrels about this extraordinary existence we share, as if you and I and God were all married and living in a tiny room. To be open and receptive. To not be nervous or worried or apprehensive about the outcome of an open exchange with another person. This practice that I've been doing lately is we've been talking about getting in the habit of feeling yourself extending love wherever you go, to feel yourself just giving what you have within to those around you. And I think for too long I neglected this idea that we also need to understand that which we're extending is coming back to us. And so I've just been telling myself as I go around wherever it is that I go, that everybody here is loving me right now. This totally changes perspective. I mean, when you think about it, when you first think about it, you go, oh my God, that just, and you don't even, Yeah, really, it's very difficult to know what it really feels like until you do it in a crowd of strangers, seeming strangers. To walk in, like yesterday when I went to the airport to come back here, there were a lot of people in there. And I started to do this exercise of seeing that every one of them was extending love to me and that I was extending to them. And it totally, all thoughts of the menial list of things to do and all, nervousness about appearance and all of that kind of thing just falls away. It just falls away. Now, it's a practice that has to be kept up. I mean, because in just forgetting it in just a few moments, we will start noticing the shortcomings of others. We'll start noticing our interpretation of how they appear to us gives us a whole list of things to hold against them and to keep them separate from us. But to remember to keep opening the heart, and this is the reality of it. This is the real thing. That underneath all of our fear, underneath all of our material stuff, is this pure and loving spirit. And it is also in everybody else. And so in reality, and the ultimate reality, we are already, all of us, in communion, sharing the light and love of God. All the time. It's going on all the time. It's just that we aren't noticing. And the reason that we're not noticing is we're caught up in the mundane things of the day. We're caught up in all of the issues that actually, and we need to admit, the reason we're caught up in all these other issues is because we think they're more important. We think these other things are more important. How am I going to make some money today? I better be watching out. People, it's not safe out here. People are looking for an opportunity to take advantage. All of these thoughts are based in lack. They're all based in this idea that there's not enough to go around. I better get mine before somebody else gets it. And I better watch out because somebody might want to take mine. We think that holding on to these trinkets is more important than experiencing the love of God. And this really is the if you wanted to be severe about it, you'd say it's the violation of the first commandment. Because what we've done then is we have taken all this stuff and all these, and it doesn't have to just be material things. It can be acceptance. I need my respect. I need, all of these kind of ideas. Same deal. And what we're doing is we make them more important than God. And in other words, we make them idols. And that distracts us from what's really going on. So now, but see, here's the thing that first of all, we need to understand that God's not mad about that. It's because previously we may have thought that if we made idols and worshiped them, that lightning was going to come down from the skies in one way or another, maybe just figuratively speaking. But punishment was coming for this kind of violation. The punishment is the violation. That's the punishment. The punishment is the consequence of thinking that we are caught in a world of lack. That's the punishment, because then we are. Then that's our experience. So, and actually, God isn't even like paying any attention to that kind of thing. All He's doing is He's under that surface. He is under the surface at that level of pure and loving spirit in communion with all life. And we've just put ourselves in an experience where we are putting all kinds of interference and distraction over the top of that, so we are not experiencing it. We are not in the midst of the flow in our conscious mind. So to be real, first we need to understand who we are. Child of God, Son of God, beloved of God, heir to the kingdom. So when you start thinking about it from that perspective, then there really doesn't seem to be any need for us to put on a mask. If we start thinking of it from that perspective, what could you be in your masquerade that is better than what you really are? So this is true humility then. That true humility is that understanding, pure and loving spirit, and then also recognizing in our brothers pure and loving spirit. And then from that perspective, then there's no need to put on airs. There's no need. Don't have to worry about what they think, what somebody is thinking about us right now on the surface level, because it's not important. Doesn't mean anything. It's just another distraction. So to be open and receptive, to think about this, there's communion going on in spirit all the time, and my job here is to make myself aware of it and to help my brothers and sisters also become aware of it. And I'm not going to help them become aware of it by really telling them that they need to get right. How I'm going to help them become aware of it is for me to have that sense within myself that this is what's going on. That this is what's going on. We have all of us have all sorts of issues. In the poem, Hafiz is saying we're going to the fields of earth, the material world. Every day we get up and we go to the fields of earth, and we're all carrying a heavy pack. And what Ken Wapnick said about this is we're all fighting a hard battle. That each and every one of us is fighting this hard battle. And the battle that we are fighting is the battle of the world that we see. And actually, the world that we have made. So this burden, this heavy pack that we're carrying, it's a pack that we voluntarily put on. But we believe that the world has put it on us, and that we have to struggle through life carrying this heavy load because that's the nature of the world. But what really is going on is that's the nature of our ego. That's the nature of that small part of us that keeps thinking that these idols are going to make us feel better. Now, I always want to be very clear about these things, that it's okay to enjoy the good things in the world. They just can't be that important. That's where we get in trouble, where we have to grasp to things, where we have to hold to things. So to be open means that I can just relax for a minute. And that exercise of just seeing that people are extending love to me just like I'm extending to them just changes the whole mindset. To start to feel, to be radiating that aura of love. In a practical sense, what we're talking about is it just means that you look friendly. You look approachable to people. People get a sense that they could say something to you, that you could say something to them without where you could get, if it's appropriate, you get eye contact and you acknowledge them. You say hello, you introduce, whatever it is. You introduce yourself. And I'm flying so much that I get this experience all the time. The guy that sits next to you, the woman that sits next to you on the plane, I just noticed if I don't say anything, they don't say anything. Usually. Usually that's just the way it is. So I remember years and years ago, we had this guy, his name was Vern Mento. And he came to speak, and he did a seminar for a week long. And the first task he gave everybody was, he said, this is what you're going to do. Your job for this week is to greet the people that come in front of you first. You be the first one. When you see them, you say hello before they say hello. And this, just a simple little exercise, like it changes everything. If you say something to that person that sits next to you on the plane, they will say something. And things will happen. It doesn't mean that you're going to talk to them for the 4-hour flight. It just means you're going to have an interaction where you know you're actually sitting next to another person. You're sitting next to your brother, your sister. And that's the other thing. I eat out a lot because we're always running around. I like it though too. We like to experience the good food. But how do you treat those people who serve you? Do you notice that they're even there? I mean, I observe myself. And sometimes I'm caught up in the activities of the day. And I will go in there and maybe I've got a book with me or I've got my iPad or whatever. And I'll go in and sit down at the table and the person comes over to serve me, brings me water and asks if I want coffee and stuff like that. I don't even look up. I grunt or yeah, oh yeah, get coffee. Just say coffee. Don't even look at them. This is not the way to go through life. Because we are missing out on these opportunities over and over again. And again, it's a mistake. It's an error. It's an error to miss the opportunity. It's not something to walk around feeling ashamed about. It's something to notice and then to say, I don't want to do it that way. I want to engage with people. And engaging with people does not mean being obnoxious. It doesn't mean that we got to get all up in their business. It doesn't mean that we have to, it's so important that we strike up a conversation. It just means that we're open and receptive, and whatever happens is okay. We don't have to force the issue. Whatever happens is okay. Now this principle that we're talking about being real and about going into life and presenting solutions and service that is of benefit to everyone involved. This is learning how to actually be intimate in appropriate ways. To be intimate with someone, I've got somebody that I've been working with that gets very upset when people get too close to them. A lot of people experience this. When folks get too, like we say, in my space, right? And so I gave them this exercise of whenever someone gets too close, that they need to get closer. Just try it, see what happens. So if they seem to be in your space, just kind of rub shoulder up to them. And just for a second, just try it. Just see, it's going to be okay. It really is. When we get into an elevator with someone, don't feel like, it's okay, especially when the elevator starts to get packed, it's okay. It's okay. You can have that contact. And also, that's another good opportunity, too, is that elevator, to just say something. When I was in the corporate life, we had a trainer that came out and said, each and every one of you need to have an elevator story. I said, an elevator story? He said, yes, you need to have an elevator story. You need to be able to tell that person in the elevator what you do, what your company's about in just that short period of time that you're in the elevator. You need to have an elevator story. And so I thought about this afterwards, and I thought, just think about this, that if you got into an elevator and you had not verbatim kind of pat thing that you were going to say, but that the idea was your elevator story is that you and he and they, however many people it is, and I'm not even talking about saying this out loud, that your elevator story is that all of us are going together. We're all getting off at separate floors here, but our ultimate destination is we're all going together. And to know that we actually can't get to where we ultimately want to go by ourselves. This is the thing about intimacy. Intimacy is a risk, because we believe that if we are open, that people will hurt us. We believe that if we don't want to give too much information. We think that somehow being vulnerable means that we're going to be hurt. But so we go back to reality. We go back to the real thing. And the real thing is that we are spirit, pure and loving spirit. Pure and loving spirit can't be hurt. Your ego can be hurt. Your personality can get its feelings hurt. But spirit cannot be hurt. And by the way, all those things, the ego and the small self and those hurts that can happen to that, they will pass. They will pass. The more we practice, the faster they will pass. So, I know I've told this story many times, but I just remember when I was new in recovery, isn't it interesting how for people who go to meetings, we start out going to meetings and we still are in this mindset of maybe the only good quality we think we have is the ability to keep our mouth shut and not say anything about anything, right? We're going to be, we don't say nothing about nothing. And then we hear people sharing these intimate details of their life at the table. We go, oh my God, I can't believe they said that in front of all these people. How could they do that? And then we may find somebody in the meeting that we begin to share some confidences with, and then pretty soon we're doing it at the table. We're telling what's going on with ourselves at the table, and this process